this event. The referee representing the ISU. Jennifer Ross. Panel of judges. Judge number 1 from Great Britain. Gilles and Poirier. Judge number 2 from Canada. Judge number 3 from the United States of America. Judge number 4 from France. Judge number 5 from Germany. Judge number 6 from the People's Republic of China. Judge number 7 from Finland. Judge number 8 from Italy. Massimo Orlandini. Judge number 9 from Ukraine. Guignard and Fabbri. The technical panel also represents the ISU. Technical controller. Christina Burke. The technical specialist. National Ayako. And Kristen Fraser Buchanan.
Welcome everyone to day 2 coverage of the Grand Prix final in Beijing, China. 21 million inhabitants of Beijing. Beijing is also the home to many national monuments and museums and has 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I'm your host, Ed Barton, along with Mark Hanratty, joining us for the rhythm dance coming up in just a few moments.
I'm so looking forward to this final event of the day, the ice dance competition, and as we see some sights of the National Indoor Stadium and the amazing city of Beijing, which hosted the Summer Olympics back in 2008, and that the reason for the construction of this, the National Indoor Stadium, is also used for the Winter Olympics in 2022 for ice hockey. Now that Winter Olympic Games in 2022, all 6 of the upcoming teams in the ice dance or rhythm dance competed here in Beijing, but many of them now back again for the Grand Prix final this year and enjoying a post-pandemic opportunity to see the incredible sights of Beijing amidst their obvious focus for the competition itself.
Well, I know you're an ice dancer yourself when dancing on ice, and this will be a favorite event of yours, of course, and such brilliant work by all these teams.
Absolutely, and interestingly, I saw a social media post earlier today by the 2006 Olympic ice dance silver medalist Ben Agosto, and he said he's really excited about the upcoming event, but acknowledges that not everybody is going to be happy. And I am excited to see the brilliance that I'm sure is coming, but also a little bit anxious because they're also brilliant, but there are only 3 podium spots and there's only going to be 1 winner, and there's lots of ice dancers coming up who all want the same thing.
Well, we saw that in the pairs a little earlier today. Of course, the leaders coming in fell to 3rd place on the podium. Things can change, and they are changing from every event. We will witness the rhythm dance here, all 6 teams brilliant, and as Mark mentioned, only 3 will be on the podium. So we'll see what happens as they lead into the European Championships and the ISU 4 continents and on to Worlds in March.
And there, as we see the starting order, confirmation of history made for Canadian ice dancers, with 3 Canadian ice dance teams taking up 50% of the Grand Prix final ice dance team participants.
Not often I get to see the Canadian flag 3 times on one start list. So we take a look at the officials for this event. Do such a brilliant job as they take times away from their family and work to come here to officiate this international prestigious event, as we take a look also at the technical panel.
The technical panel, Kristen Fraser-Luukkonen, a former World Ice Dance Championship competitor herself, her husband Igor Luukkonen, and the judges and the officials looking over the proceedings have most likely devoted a huge part of their lives. As we see everybody prepared differently before they take to the ice.
A little kiss going on in the background there. That's awesome.
Do what you gotta
Cool
do to get the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's welcome our ice dancers
And here we go.
to the ice. Representing
There is the first team representing Canada, Marjorie Lajoie and Zachary Lagha. You can guess what the theme of their music will be. We look at Laurence Fournier, Beaudry, and Nikolai Soerensen, also from Canada. Their costumes might also give you a hint. From Great Britain, Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson.
skaters, your 5-minute warm-up starts now.
And although they are fierce competitors, also friends, because all 6 of the skaters on the ice train together in the Ice Academy of Montreal, so they are more than familiar with everything that each one does. Of course, they'll be incredibly well aware of what they're up against, and so with that in mind, it really will be down to who can tap into their best commitment to the performance, as we watch the wonderful Marjorie Lajoie warming up solo before joining Zachary.
Marjorie and Zachary were world junior champions a number of years ago, and now started to really move up in the senior ranks.
Representing Canada, please welcome Marjorie Lajoie and Zachary Lagha.
And they the youngest team to have qualified for this Senior Grand Prix final. And as we see, as the event progresses, some really experienced seasoned teams who are, we assume, getting closer towards the end of their competitive days. We hope that Marty and Zachary will be performing wonderful performances for us for many years and seasons to come.
Oh, it's a little nerve-wracking, those ice dance warm-ups.
These two skaters represented Denmark until
As we watch
January
Laurence,
2018,
Fournier, Beaudry and
but now
Nikolai Soerensen,
represent
it's
Canada.
fascinating because
They are Olympians,
many would
the
assume that
current
the
national
ice dance
champions,
event
and earned
doesn't
2
have the
silver
same
medals in this
physicality
year's
as the
Grand
pairs
Prix
or the single
series to
skaters,
make it to the final
which
for the
has some
second
pretty
time.
treacherous physical
They
feats
represent
in terms of their
Canada.
content,
Let's
but I
welcome
think an ice dance
Laurence,
warm-up
Fournier,
is
Beaudry, and
probably the most
Nikolai
dangerous place to be
Soerensen.
in any discipline.
I don't know about the physical feet thing, and I used to do the Canadian tango, and I felt that would be It's pretty remarkable what these athletes and these dance teams do. They make it look so beautiful and so easy, but it is not. It is physically demanding. Perhaps not the throws or the overhead lifts, but the complications are still there.
So much so that injuries are prevalent, and wonderful to know now that Laurence Fournier Beaudry is recovered from the knee injury that curtailed some of her season's preparations last year. As we look at
These two are both
Lajoie
full-time
and
athletes.
Lewis Gibson, the
Together,
British
they
champions.
competed at the Olympic Games, 6 World Championships with their best finish of 4th
They
place in
won
2023.
NHK trophy
They are
and
the current
just
European
blew the
silver
roof right
medalists
off the
and
building
are at their second World
with their
Cup
free
final
dance.
on the strength of a gold at NHK and a silver at Skate Canada.
And they
First up,
Representing
the
Great
rhythm
Britain,
dance.
please welcome
Yeah, they've
Lila Fear
acknowledged
and Lewis
how much
Gibson.
they love performing in Japan, invited to perform there in the off-season as well. And since that time, they then travelled back to the UK to Sheffield to compete in their national championships before returning back here to Beijing. So their workload has been intense and grueling, but they never complain, not even citing that as any potential reason to hamper their preparation. Instead, saying that they want to continue on the adrenaline and the upward trajectory that they've enjoyed from the past 2 events where they've had such successes.
Well, you know, as hard as this is, as difficult as competing at this level is, they travel the world, they're doing what they love, they're doing it with friends, and it's a pretty exciting time of life, and it passes so quickly, and you can't get it back.
So true, and it's easy for us to say who aren't in the competitive arena anymore, and you just so hope that these athletes will be able to relish the specialness of it, whilst we appreciate that, of course, so much of their brain space and thoughts will be consumed with points, results, rankings compared to others.
Skaters, there's 1 minute remaining in the warm-up.
And I suppose it's a chance for us to acknowledge, because as I was quoting Ben Agosto and saying that not everybody's going to be happy here, the people that can be happy are the ice dance community and ice dance fans that are getting the chance to see such a deep field full of teams who have really thought so conscientiously about the output of their performances and the choreography and composition of their 1980s rhythm dances and free dances to come.
Yeah, it's true. The beneficiaries are us, the viewers, the fans, and those online and watching on television as well. And just to see these remarkable performances. It's a variety show in ice dance. You get everything, different themes and different stories.
And what we really hope is that each lays down a personal best. Laurence and Nikolai had some issues in the Challenger Series in the rhythm dance, but now further on into the season, hope that they, as with all the other 5 teams, skate cleanly and achieve what they are something to be proud of.
Our first skaters represent Canada.
Our first team represents Canada, Marjorie Lajoie and Zachary Lagha. Canadian silver medalists, bronze medalists at 4 continents last season, former world junior champions, making their way under the Senior Grand Prix final. And they will take the ice and skate to Michael Jackson.
Check in the second twizzle for Zachary, but wonderful speed of rotation for both. Well concealed turns in the bracket and the outside mohawk within this tap dance type step.
Across the land, the midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize your neighborhood.
Well, what a fun program that is. Just level 3 for both partners in the Twizzles, Mark. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of this, but
Representing Canada,
lots of energy.
Yes, phenomenal energy, and as I mentioned, they are the youngest team here, and one of their goals this season, for the first half of the season, was to make it to this Grand Prix final. So objective accomplished, but you just sense that Zachary is mindful that it wasn't just quite perfect, and I spotted possibly a slight check in the rotation of the Twizzles for Zachary, but perhaps the same fate occurred for Marjorie too, and that's the reason why level 3 for both. But such different characters, different humans, and Marjorie's reaction very different to Zachary's, as the coaches will be accustomed to seeing.
They are completely different personalities. Zachary actually is a very accomplished pianist. Marjorie, completely different personality, but they seem to work so well on the ice.
There seems to have been a standing joke in the ice dance community about Zachary's seriousness, but something that I think everybody appreciates is just part of the wonderful performer that he is, and now he's studying choreography and contemporary dance at university to just push and enhance the output of the product that he creates with Marjorie on the ice as they aspire to become the best in the world. And it's the choreographic rhythm sequence. Use the steps from the Silver Samba compulsory dance. This element will be reflected in the grade of execution by the judges, and there's no doubt that they're embodying Michael Jackson movement within that choreo rhythm sequence while still doing the necessary silver samba steps there for Marjorie. Rotation left, change of position with epic speed of rotation delivered by Zachary, and glorious extension from Marjorie, both through the fingers and the toes.
Across the land. The midnight hour is close.
They had an epic performance at the Cup of China, and that's where they secured their 82.02 rhythm dance score. Looks like here levels a little low for the team, and this is going to fall short of that, which may see their faces drop a little, unfortunately.
Yeah, 74.74 for the rhythm dance first team out. Twizzles in at 4 and 3, midline steps at 2 and 3, so missing some levels there, which would make a difference. But they're here. Mission accomplished.
Our next skaters represent Canada.
Our next team also represents Canada. Lawrence Fournier, Beaudry, and Nikolai Soerensen. And their season's best is 82.62. They earned that in Finland at the Grand Prix Espoo. And they're going to skate, well, to Top Gun.
It takes a lot more than just fancy flying. I am dangerous. Talk to me, Goose.
That, their inverted dive air plume move for the straight line lift to start.
Fabric and Goose. Great.
Oh no, they've touched, they drop a level there, check turns as well. Not what they were hoping for the Twizzles. Wonderful use of the mandatory Skinner stop before the pass and dance type step sequence.
Well, unfortunate on the sequential Twizzles, level 3 and level 2. They'll be disappointed with that. As you mentioned, Mark, they touched in between.
Representing
Yeah, and I just love this team. Laurence and Nikolai possess such qualities, fundamentally strong skaters. And I so often feel like they're just on the brink of the recognition that they deserve for all the hard work and commitment over multiple seasons. But unfortunately, in this event, a mistake like that is going to make it very difficult for them to achieve the dream that they have of breaking onto the rostrum. And I remember seeing an interview between the couple whereby they acknowledge their differences, and Nikolai sounds like he's very left-brain logic and very mindful of the positive features necessary to gain more points. Laurence, more empathic, more feeling in terms of wanting to perform, and maybe that's why for Nikolai he'll be only too well aware of the consequences of that mistake, and you do sense it plagued on his mind a little bit, understandably, throughout the rest of the performance. So rare that a team will use the lift to start, but when you've got a lift as brilliant as this, what better way than to showcase your strengths in front of the judges. But here's where things started to go awry. Sequential twizzles, and they must not touch in the rhythm dance. Different to that where they had the opportunity to potentially touch in the free dance. And that's the risk of going so close. The positive features, they were probably trying to stay so close to push the grade of execution higher. It was a conscientious thought, probably. Maybe it's just a little bit of extra adrenaline and nerves that pushed that into a mistake. But in these slow-mos, you can see Laurence Fournier-Beaudry's gorgeous expression. And whenever her foot leaves the ice, it's always in a clean position, always ankle extended, as you see here, turned out extended. Always appropriate facial interpretation and energy. A great team.
Well, you can see in the kiss and cry, just a little disappointment on Nikolai's face. Known of the mistake, but it's costly, but in the big picture, it's the World Championships in Montreal. That's the goal. Rhythm dance score 74.82. That is first in the rhythm dance, even with the loss of points.
800ths just ahead of their training mates and compatriots. Whew.
Much more. This is only partway through the season. Much more to come.
Our next skaters represent Great Britain.
The next team is from Great Britain. Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson. 84.93. They earned that at NHK Trophy just a few weeks ago. The brilliant performances there to take the title. And they'll skate to Sweet Dreams. And here comes the rain again.
So crisp and sharp. Twizzle nightmares continue for all of the competitors. First Lila, then Lewis. Great example of the back inside rocker there for Lewis. There. Forward outside mohawk from Lila.
So another example of just how risky and difficult the Twizzles are. These teams pushing the limits to how fast they twizzle and how close they do. Another mistake here, unusual. Usually these teams are very clean on the Twizzles.
Well, I mean, this is such a hotly contested event. There was so much discussion as to how things would unfold. I don't think anybody anticipated mistakes being made by each and every one of the first three teams to compete, and you just wonder, we've seen it in the single skating events and perhaps the pairs events where mistakes are made and the energy of that is sensed by the subsequent competitors taking to the ice, and you just wonder, all three of the teams that have competed so far trained together, you know, they know each other well. Have they picked up on what's happened either consciously or unconsciously? But as you say, Ted, it's a rarity for mistakes as readily exhibited by these experienced competitors. So as we look back at the performance from Lajoie and Gibson, just a chance to see there's so much that's gone into this. Here you see just too deep in the right forward outside edge. She's forced to touch down for Lila there, and then her partner, empathic to her, had an issue with his Group C feature, the third twizzle later. But I must say there is just so much going on in this rhythm dance. It appears like they've spent endless hours on and off the ice on adding additional arm movement, head movement. And obviously great connection between them, firm friends on and off the ice. Here, the choreo rhythm sequence.
I think we're so used to seeing these teams at such a high level without any mistakes. It's been kind of that way through the Grand Prix series, and to see these mistakes here in the final, really unusual.
And you know, yet to come are the three medalists from the World Championships, the most seasoned and experienced of the lot. How will they cope with what's taken place? And equally, how will what happens today and now affect the preparation for the free dances? They are such firm friends, and I'm sure that Lila and Lewis will, you can see there instantly the connection between them. And as I mentioned in the warm-up, they've just been at their British National Championships following the NHK trophy.
Yeah, it's just not the best start.
Lila said, not the best start. Roman Aganar, their coach, nope, you're right there, love.
That's okay. I mean, all these competitions are important, but it is the World Championships that everyone is working towards and focused on, and these little dips and rises in the journey to that championship are all adding up to probably their best performances of the year,
The scores, please.
peaking at the right moment. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores for Lila Thier, Lewis Gibson, Great Britain. 76.24, that is first in the rhythm dance with mistake. Let's see the qualities.
英国组合费尔和吉普森韵律得分为76.24分，目前暂列第一位。
But it's close.
Gosh, the Ice Academy and Montreal coaches who do so much to create so many brilliant teams must be exhausted with the dramas of the first group here at the Grand Prix final.
Yeah,
Let's welcome
exactly.
our final group of skaters to the ice.
有请第二组运动员入场。
Final three teams take to the ice.
Representing Italy.
From Italy, Charlene Guignard and Fabbri. They were a little surprised to not take the title in NHK. And from the United States, manager Chock and Bates. Looking to continue to improve throughout the season towards the Worlds. And from Canada, Piper Gillis, Paul Poirier.
Skaters, your 5-minute warm-up begins now.
运动员现在将进行5分钟热身。
And at the top of this warm-up, Ted, I just think that, you know, it is going to be a very heavily contested event, and all of these teams, as world medalists in Saitama, Japan earlier this year, want the title. But what I think we have to acknowledge is how wonderful it is that they continue to return, that we continue to see Charlene Guignard, Marco Fabbri. I saw a picture posted on social media just this morning of Charlene and Marco in their first year together, and they're barely recognizable. They have been together for such a long time, and now we get to enjoy the fruits of that labor and toil over multiple seasons.
Well, we are very lucky that all these teams and many more around the world as well continue to develop and change the sport, bring such variety and innovation to the ice. It's incredible. It's our gain, of course. And as you mentioned a little earlier, there can only be one winner and only 3 on the podium. So it's a challenge. Whoa, that was a nice slowdown before a collision. Well done.
Which just proves even your world champions and your world silver medalists, you know, can't get out of the way of each other in a warm-up. These warm-ups are treacherous. But
explain to the audience why the ice dance warm-ups are more treacherous.
well, as we see Madison Chock and Evan Bates, the world champions, work through their pattern dance type step sequence, the changes of direction and the depth of edge that they have mean they are constantly weaving in and out of direction and pattern. That's conscientious because they're trying to showcase the judges' great composition. But if you've got 2 or 3 couples all wanting to weave in and weave out in different directions at high speed, it's almost a recipe for collision, as we see even amidst the very best.
And probably also the emotional performance between the two. Sometimes they don't maybe see the ice as clearly as the singles would see, obviously, or the pairs.
So true. And as we look at Piper and Paul, who find themselves the last couple to skate based on the rankings of the Grand Prix series, it's interesting to note that 2/3 of the ice dance final competitors here are over 30 years of age or older. And you know, so much is said about Diana Stellato de Deck, the Canadian pair skater, but I think it's also important to reference that the ice dancers do really come into their prime at a later stage because they've honed their craft from their skating skills, but built up a repertoire of different emotional varieties, increased different compositions and choreographies, so they have a greater vocabulary of movement to create the brilliant programs that we'll see from these 6 skaters.
A very interesting comment. You know, if they're in their 30s, you could still be out here, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, last year we saw Daisuke Takahashi. He was older than I am,
Yep.
so yeah. Although, to be fair, as much as I would, there's a part of me that would love to still compete. The physicality, and also what's important to note is the life on hold. You know, I've got family and children. That's something that would be very difficult for these skaters to do. We've got teams that are couples on and off the ice who, you know, Madison and Evan, who are engaged to one another. As glorious and wonderful as it is for them to still continue their training, to some extent, you know, we talk about with the youngsters in the junior ranks how they sacrifice going out and maybe partying with their friends the way that other teenagers might. You know, there are different sacrifices for these skaters in their 30s, and you know, I'm just grateful that those sacrifices allow us to get to see their brilliance.
Yeah, well said. You're so right about the weaving and the ups and the downs as we saw there.
决胜赛1分钟后结束。
And even with 3 teams on the ice, you know, quite remarkable. Look how big the ice surface is here. You think, oh, why would they ever collide? But you know, it changes so much, and they move so quickly, and so absorbed in their performance as well. So it's a risky warm-up.
And I mean, the warm-ups and ice dance are a certain facet. Also, it's interesting, the Olympics social media channel has done a wonderful job of promoting the skaters, and I think I saw it was Piper Gillis showing the makeup procedure for her preparation for the event on the Olympics Instagram page. And you know, that's another facet to the long preparation to get ready for these events. And I mean, talk about the makeup from Piper, Madison Chock, she, I think, has been a regular winner of best costume opinion for many. She won the ISU, I think, best costume award from the
Yes.
costumes by Mathieu Caron. And yeah, just the ice dancers really take every aspect into close scrutiny.
Don't let
and
that
detail.
fool you. This is a sport. No matter how wonderful they look and no matter how wonderful they perform, it is a physical sport and it's hard to see sometimes. As we get set, we can see Piper and Paul getting off the ice. They'll skate last. Coming in here with the lead, of course, from the Grand Prix Series. As we look at our next team from Italy, Charlene Guignard and Marco Fabbri from Italy. They have an 86.62, earning that in the Grand Prix de France this season. That's their top score in the rhythm dance. As they take just a few moments to take their starting position, they'll skate to Holding Out for a Hero and Against All Odds.
Well, the first team to successfully get through the sequential twizzles, and brilliantly done too. Such a good transition within the hold, within the choreo rhythm sequence.
Well, there is Barbara Fusipoli, their coach, fist pumping the air, and you can tell this team did not like coming second at NHK Trophy and went back to work. Comes to this competition with so much quickness and agility and timing with the music, simply far better than what they produced in NHK. Wow.
That was entirely my thought process as well, Ted. I thought they obviously didn't like a silver medal at NHK, and it was really obvious to me before they took to their start position. Obviously, they're a couple off the ice, but there was a real feeling of cemented and united together before they started. They looked like they were on a mission and very much team together to showcase themselves and all their hard work at its best.
Well, we talked about that earlier on in the Paris. Sometimes those blips, if you will, those unexpected, falls help fuel the energy you need to raise to a new level. And I think that what NHK did for this team.
Really interesting to see what the tech panels think, and the judges, of course, as well, because they don't have much room when the scores for these top 3 teams go into the 9s. It's going to be each and every input from the judges, and the components and the GOEs will be vital. But here, as I say, the only team to have success on the sequential twizzles, level 4 for both, and a great grade of execution, which was exemplified by the angle that the camera took this when we watched. Is the same angle that the judges would have seen, and they were just entirely in unison. And this just transitional content within the choreo rhythm sequence. Complex, difficult, and intense. Now, so difficult. There's the straight line lift, which was perfectly phrased with the music, and the dismount and difficulty of this, not just box ticking for level, but pushing again that GOE higher here. It's a nice controlled Ina Bauer just after that too. Now, I put my neck on the line to some extent by saying that it's not necessarily it's not my favorite 1980s music choice for Charlene and Marco, but they had to remove all sense of personal preference. It's just how much did the team embody the composition and presentation of the 80s rhythm. Barbara Fusser-Poli, absolutely, she's a star player in their team, because she's
no question. There's the ever so calm and quiet Barbara Fusser-Poli, full of energy as a skater and a coach. Let's take a look at the rhythm dance scores here. An 85.82, that is first in the rhythm dance, and hugs and fist pumps and backpacks and you name it going on in the kissing party.
But interesting, it's not a season's best, but I think the result here was the reason that they are so satisfied.
Well, the energy of performance and in the venue and at this moment, they needed that for the rest of the season.
United States of America.
Our next team represents the United States, Madison Chock, Evan Bates.
And Evan Bates.
Boy, what a team this is. World champions 2022-2023 season. Their season's best 85.61, earning that at the Grand Prix Espoo a few weeks back. And they'll skate to another one, Bites the Dust, Who Wants to Live Forever? And I Want It All, from Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen.
Line step to start each of these difficult turns will be so crucial and vital in the tech score. Madison and Evan also safely through the twizzles.
Well, another brilliant performance. I don't think this group got the memo on the twizzles. They're executing them beautifully.
Absolutely brilliant. And this, their 7th Grand Prix final participation. That's a record shared with the 2002 Olympic champions Anacina Pesera and their own coaches, Marie-France Debreu and Patrice Lauzon. But they've never won the title. 4 silver medals, the first of those in their first appearance at the Grand Prix final in 2014. Can they do enough to take the Grand Prix final to add to the world title that they achieved in March?
Boy, it's going to be ever so close, and will not be decided in the rhythm dance at this stage for sure. Free dance yet still to come, but you can see them coming off the ice with great smiles on their face and full of energy in that performance. Didn't see any pause.
Yeah, this to me, Ted, is where the judges have to be they have to have studied their rules so much to be able to stand by every single grade of execution for each of the 5 elements and every composition score, because there needs to be, you know, such confidence in every score assigned, because they're all brilliant. And if we're just watching a show here, we'd be saying, oh, what a wonderful night of entertainment these ice dancers give us. But unfortunately, we need to, you know, decide and decipher what separates each and every one of them.
Yeah, and thank gosh there's a panel of experts doing that, because I don't think I could do that. Very, very difficult. So much detail.
Yeah, you're right, Ted. That's especially because as fans of the sport, you know, I've just said that they've 7 times been here at this final, Madison and Evan, 4 silver medalists. I've got personal desire to see them win, just because you think, oh gosh, poor guys, they keep coming back and they've not won it, but the judges can't have any personal attachment to it. It's just got to be, you know, this spread eagle, the outside spread eagle, that was on point on the music. Does that enhance the composition closer to the 10? Here's the choreo rhythm sequence, a similar kind of exit to the end of their silver samba steps to Charlene and Marco, using a lift to punctuate it. You know, they're all so similar, and levels-wise, similar, I'm sure. Although, that said, it looks like Madison has got a level 3 on the midline step, but it's a level 4 for Evan. That 1 level higher than Charlene and Marco. Things like that, hugely consequential.
Well, they think they did the best that they could on this night. Let's take a look at the scores. What the judges felt, 85.61 is their season's best, and they have an 89.15 season's best. They take the lead, 1 team to come. Wow. Evidently, the judges felt the same way they did when they got off the ice.
And that's a new season's best score on the circuit.
Yeah.
Our final skaters.
Wonderful. Final team represents Canada, Piper Gillies, Paul Poirier, winners of Skate Canada International and the Cup of China. They come in here ranked first, but they'll have to produce right now. There's a big score. It just went up in front of them. And their personal best, season's best, 87.55. They'll skate to No More I Love You and Addicted to Love.
That transition within the midline step just doesn't get old. little bit of a spin within the second twizzle, I think, for Piper.
So many small little details to that performance. Really quite special.
Absolutely. And Piper had explained that they've stepped up the speed in the transitions and the samba, the choreo rhythm sequence, to try and up the grade of execution. Been working on different transitional exits from the lifts. There's a very definite, conscientious approach to pushing ever higher to try to repeat as Grand Prix final champions following their success in Torino 12 months ago. It's difficult. I've just talked about Madison and Evan and how, you have that emotional connection to them, knowing that they've been at the Grand Prix final so many times. With Piper and Paul, we know what Piper has endured of late. She had stage 1 ovarian cancer last year. You wish the very best for them, but if I just look very pragmatically at the skate, I don't think it was as clean as that of Madison and Evan in this instance.
Well, it is sport, and it has to be looked at on an individual basis at the moment of presentation. If that's the case, yeah, you're right. It's emotional attachment to these skaters and their journeys, but during the time that they perform, it has to be looked at cleanly, clearly, fairly.
This is where we see forward inside counter there within the midline step, and it's a level 3 for Piper, level 2 for Paul, assigned by the panel. And as this, within the midline step, they're allowed to touch dice within this element, should boost the grade of execution, but they have 2 levels lower comparative to Madison and Evan, who lead the field at this stage. So there's a loss in the tech score, and then here, I think it's a right forward outside twizzle that they step into now. I think Piper had a spin on one of the rotations, so that should drop a level as well. So tech score perhaps a little lower, but there's no doubting the commitment to the expression. Here the rotation left, and Piper did say that they make the most wondrous team. They wanted to shout out also to Nick Robinson, their trainer, who's been on their team for 8 years, pushing them on so many levels. Stephanie Moser, their physio, who's been with them since the beginning and has gone above and beyond. There are so many people supporting Piper and Paul, not just the wonderful Caroline who joins them now in the kissing track.
Oh, wonderfully said. It takes so many people to support all these athletes, of course. And this team has gone through so much, but it's just partway through the season. Much more to come, of course. Rhythm dance scores 85.17, and that'll put Piper and Paul Curley into 3rd place. And they'll take a look at the report card. They'll see where they've lost some points, get back to work at that, and we have the free program. The free dance still yet to come. Look how close it is between 2nd and 3rd, so lots can happen in the free dance.
Please join us.
Oh, your wrap-up thoughts there.
Oh, I mean, I'm exhausted. That was amazing. We knew it was going to be a fascinating event when you've got 6 teams of such caliber. Didn't necessarily expect mistakes to be made as abundantly as they were, particularly in the first group, but confirmation that the ice dance discipline is solid at the moment.
No question Indeed. Well, that concludes our coverage of the rhythm dance. We hope you have enjoyed the wonderful performances. Thank you for watching. Here's a look at the bronze medal. Not bronze medal, the third place after the rhythm dance. Piper Gillies, Paul Poirier. Just a few small mistakes there, Mark.
Yes, and Piper and Paul, as we heard in the kiss and cry with their coach Caroline, acknowledging is still satisfied with the performance. As we look to Charlie Guignard and Marco Fabbri, who are a couple on a mission to redeem themselves from the silver medal at their final Grand Prix series assignment. Before this, the final. And now the second place position that they find themselves in, behind Chock and Bates, is a repeat of the podium positions from the World Championships in Saitama, Japan. But can they do enough in the free dance to change things around? As we see the world champions, they weren't the front runners coming into this event based on scores achieved within the Grand Prix series, but a convincing win for them in the rhythm dance. Not just leaders, but leaders by 3.5 points almost. Just a brilliant event. Can they take the title that has been elusive to them for the last 7 appearances?
And now that concludes our coverage of the rhythm dance. We hope you have enjoyed these beautiful performances. Thank you for watching.
Silver from the Junior Grand Prix final. I hear.
What was that?
Winner, Mike's live. Jia Shen showing brilliant height on her triple lutz. And a fantastic triple axel from Ami Nakai. She'll be hoping to use that to climb onto the podium. So Kwan just returning to her coaches for some opportunity to catch her breath before being the first skater. Rena Yuzono, despite being the youngest competitor at just 13 years of age, 2 years younger than any of the other women, looks as composed as any.